Evening, welcome to the Transfer Show. Darmasheth has just put his phone down on his second call in the last 60 seconds. Carve Solical, nice to relax, raring to go this time next week. The dust will be settling on what's always a frantic deadline day. But do Premier League managers even know what to expect over the next few days?
That is a difficult question to currently answer.
I don't know. It's your job to read things into that.
From my perspective, yes.
Can you put a figure on his value to the club?
No. It's a transfer window, everything can happen.
We are actually working constantly on these kind of things.
Bernardo, Silva, he's staying.
Absolutely.
We need players, clear.
Let's not talk about a number.
For me, this is the best team in the world.
From my perspective, yes.
The barrier has to be high.
What is going to happen still in the last week or so, I think is going to be pretty powerful.
One big deal has gone through today. Alexander Isak is Newcastle's new record signing. Lots of transfer news to come then, but first tonight, Cardiff have lost their appeal against a FIFA ruling over the first instalment of Emiliano Sala's transfer fee to Nantes. Carby, you've got the background to this, just remind me.
Yes, of course, this is a very tragic story. 3.5 years ago, Cardiff City were in the Premier League. During the January transfer window, they were looking for a forward. They signed Emiliano Sala from Nantes in a deal that was worth £14.5 million. As he was travelling to Cardiff, he was in a plane crash. He died along with the pilot, David Ibbotson. And ever since then, there's been a dispute between Cardiff City and Nantes over the transfer fee, because Cardiff City was saying that technically he wasn't their player, so they didn't feel that they needed to pay the transfer fee, whereas Nantes said that the deal had been completed. When the player died, he was a Cardiff player, so Cardiff had to pay the transfer fee. Now, the case has been about the first instalment that was due, which was €6 million, £5 million. Cardiff didn't pay Nantes. Nantes went to FIFA. FIFA looked at the case and FIFA decided that Cardiff had to pay that instalment of about £5 million. Cardiff didn't accept FIFA's decision. They went to the Court of Arbitration for Sport. In March, there was a 2-day hearing, and this afternoon, the Court of Arbitration for Sport announced their decision. And their decision was that Sala, when he died, was a Cardiff City player, and Cardiff had to pay that first instalment, €6 million, about £5 million.
So what are Cardiff going to do?
Well, I think as far as Cardiff are concerned, this is not the end of the matter. I think they're going to appeal. They can appeal to the Swiss Federal Court, and I'm pretty sure they're going to do that. They have released a statement saying they're disappointed. They're expecting to appeal. They say for the time being they're not going to pay Nantes that first instalment of £5 million. And they also finish off their statement by saying all our thoughts must continue to be with Emiliano's family, who are now supported financially by the trust the club has put in place for them.
OK, Carver, thanks very much indeed. Wanted to bring you those very important details, and we'll keep you in touch with that story as it, no doubt, as Carver suggests, continues over the coming months. Today's big transfer news on the playing front has been Newcastle breaking their transfer record to sign Alexander Isak. What were the final details?
Yes, we were telling you yesterday that it was very, very close. It has been completed today. Club record deal. Eddie Howe has wanted at least one forward, and they've signed Isak from Real Sociedad. It is £58 million plus potentially another £5 million in add-ons, which takes it to £63 million. What's interesting is whether he'll be able to play this weekend. Eddie Howe this morning at his news conference, before the deal had been completed, said that he felt that Isak would need to train at least once or twice before their game on Sunday. I think it is against Wolves, if I'm right. Also, interestingly, Eddie Howe was asked a couple of times during that news conference, is this the end of your transfer business? And he seemed to suggest that he needs another forward. Ideally, he would like to bring in another forward, but he did make the point that he would need to speak to the owners and the board at Newcastle, and it would have to be a club decision. But as Darmesh has been reporting over the past few days and weeks, they are still in for other forwards as well.
Okay. So yes, it is Wolves away as the Newcastle fixture this Sunday. Well remembered 2 o'clock kickoff for that one. So as you were kind of hinting, Eddie Howe doesn't think that's Newcastle necessarily done with 6 days to go.
That is a difficult question to currently answer. I think naturally from my perspective, yes. From my perspective, yes. I'd like to try and push as much as we can to improve the squad. I need to sit down with the club and have those discussions. That'll be discussions I'll have with the club, and we'll wait and see where we go with that. Need to sit down and have a chat and see what we can do next.
Come on then, Darmesh, 6 days to go. Who else might be on his list?
I mean, the Isak deal kind of came out of the blue a little bit in the last 24 to 48 hours. And up to that point, Newcastle United were in discussions with Watford over their forward, Joao Pedro. Now, since Isak has been signed, I think the big question has been, are they going to sign anyone else? Eddie Howe certainly hopes so. But the question is, will they go in for Joao Pedro still? Now, I'm told it's gone quiet for now, but I'm also told it's not been ruled out entirely. The bid that Newcastle had was worth £30 million, which was £25 million initial fee and £5 million in add-ons. It was the structure and the makeup of those add-ons that was under discussion. So that was not agreed upon. And I just wonder now, once Isak has now come in, whether Newcastle United will now go back in and try and reopen talks with Watford to try and sort out those add-ons and that structure to see if they can still bring in Joao Pedro from Watford. So I think Newcastle United, as Eddie Howe has hinted there, yes, they do want to bring in players. Let's see if one of those players is going to be Joao Pedro.
OK, lots, it seems, still to be done over these remaining 6 days or so. Lucas Paqueta to West Ham, still a little way to go on there?
Yeah, I mean, this could be a huge coup for West Ham United if this one can be completed. The latest information I have is that a deal is now agreed between the clubs, and I've not got a confirmation on the full fee, but I'm led to believe it's worth around 60 million euros, which is around 43 million euros in an initial payment and 17 million euros in add-ons. I have to stress, though, that has yet to be confirmed to me. There was a first bid that was rejected. They went back in again with a second bid, did West Ham United. Lyon said no, and then Lyon went back to West Ham United and said, look, we still want to discuss a deal with you, but this is our proposal that would work. And I think West Ham United have gone back in and satisfied that proposal that Lyon wanted. Now, once the final paperwork has been signed off between the clubs, it's expected that Lucas Paqueta will then sign off the personal terms, which I'm told are not expected to be a problem. And it's hoped within the next 48 hours, Lucas Paqueta will come to London and have his medical for West Ham United. Will be an incredible deal for West Ham United and David Moyes. He was speaking in his news conference earlier, and he's been quite open. He's done a couple of news conferences in the past couple of days ahead of their Conference League qualifier and before this weekend's match. And he's basically admitted, yes, there have been bids. We're just waiting to find out what Lyon are going to say. And they're not stopping there, I don't think, either. They've already made 7 signings in excess of £120 million in transfer fees. This one would take it close to £170 million. And I still think they want to bring in other players. Hans Vanaken is still one that they're keeping an eye on. The question there is, once more, like we were talking about Isak, will that mean no to Joao Pedro? We're just wondering now whether Lucas Paqueta will mean no to Hans Vanaken. But the information that I'm getting is that West Ham United are still in for Hans Vanaken. They made 2 bids, both of which have been rejected. Club Brugge do not want to let him go, but Vanaken himself does want to make that move. So West Ham could still be very, very busy in the last week.
Such a busy time for managers and executives just at the moment, with 2 Premier League games for all the clubs to come before the window closes, as well as all the transfer dealings. Chelsea, no secret, they've got Wesley Fofana and Antony Gordon on their list of potential incomings. Here's what Thomas Tuchel had to say today.
Your opponents tomorrow, Leicester, look set to leave Wesley Fofana out of their squad. He's been training with the under-23s this week as well. What do you read into that in regards to the transfer?
It's your job to read things into that. It's not our player, and it's their decision, and it's where it has to stay.
And in general terms, I know a lot of transfers at the moment. Frank Lampard's spoken about Chelsea's interest in Anthony Gordon. Ideally, how many players would you like to come in before Thursday's deadline?
We have some ideas, but maybe nobody comes in. It's not a long window anymore, so it closes soon, and the focus is on the things we can influence.
So where do you think Chelsea's focus is, to use his word?
Well, look, I think their focus in the short term is the game against Leicester tomorrow.
Yeah.
We've said over the last couple of days it was very unlikely that anything was going to happen with Wesley Fofana before that game. If Chelsea are going to go back in with another improved offer, it was always going to be after tomorrow. Look, they still want Fofana, they still want Aubameyang, they still want Antony Gordon at Everton. It'd be surprising if they managed to get all three players, but that's what they're working on. I thought there was some interesting news on the Fofana front as well, because we heard from Brendan Rodgers yesterday expressing some frustration and disappointment at the way Fofana had been behaving compared to some other players who'd left Leicester in the past, like Harry Maguire and Ben Chilwell. Interestingly, he's also been speaking to the newspapers, and today there were some interesting quotes, and Brendan Rodgers said that he's gone to the captain at Leicester, Johnny Evans, and also the vice-captain, Mark Albrighton, just to speak to them and tell them what is happening with Wesley Fofana. And he said Evans and Albrighton, they could understand it from the club's point of view, but they could also understand it from Wesley Fofana's point of view. It's not easy if you're 21 years old and a big club like Chelsea come in for you and they're trying to double, triple your wages and offering you Champions League football. And Brendan Rodgers did say Fofana is a good young man. It's difficult for him in the circumstances. We'll know soon what is going to happen. I've got a feeling that Chelsea will go back and increase their offer, but at the same time, I think Chelsea are a bit frustrated about the fact that they're being painted out this summer as being the kind of club who are just throwing money around, paying over the odds for players. I don't think that's the case, and I think they want to make sure that people don't think that's the way they've been behaving this summer.
OK. Just before we go into commercial break, Cristiano Ronaldo, possible move to Italy, I'm hearing. What's this about?
I mean, we've been talking a lot about Cristiano Ronaldo and what's going to happen to him this summer. Our colleague at Sky Italy, Gianluca Di Marzio, was reporting late last night that he believed that there may be some interest from Napoli and there could be talks going on, and it was possible that Cristiano Ronaldo could go to Napoli before the window closes next week. Of course, crucially, Napoli are in the Champions League, so they can offer him Champions League football. We all know the history of Napoli, what happened when Diego Maradona went there in the 80s. In a way, you can see it makes sense for Cristiano Ronaldo to go to Napoli, but the finances, there is no way Napoli will be able to pay him what he's earning at Manchester United at the moment. And of course, Manchester United's position has been very clear this summer that the player is not for sale. But I just wonder if they sign somebody like Antony from Ajax for 80, 90 million euros in the next few days, would that mean that then they would be open to letting Cristiano Ronaldo go?
We shall see. 6 days to go. Plenty more to come. And this programme, more from Manchester United as well, and news from Manchester City as well in a couple of minutes.
Discrimination. Let's kick it out.
Hello again, you're watching the Transfer Show. Erik ten Hag was asked today whether he expected to be a busy final week of the window as Manchester United still push to get players in. Here's his response.
I don't know. But what we said, we need players, clear, but we need the right players. And that is what we said the whole transfer window. And we are happy what we did till now. But the barrier has to be high.
So, Antony is the #1 target still?
Yes, positive talks, I'm told, are continuing between Manchester United and Ajax over what we believe to be an £80 million deal, including add-ons. But this is one of those deals which is, given the relationship that Manchester United and Ajax have, I don't think it's going to be one of those deals where Manchester United will go in with a bid, it will get accepted or rejected. And if it gets rejected, they'll go in with another bid, and then another bid, and then another bid. It's one of those where, because they are on good terms, they'll continue to talk over various elements of the deal, the structure, the add-ons, and then they'll come to an agreement verbally, and maybe then, right, the bid has gone in, it has been accepted, or Manchester United are no longer pursuing Antony because the deal doesn't work for them financially. So I don't think it's going to be a case of bid after bid after bid. I could be wrong, but just because of the relationship that the two clubs have, if you do hear of United have had another bid rejected, it's that old scenario during a transfer window. Carve has this all the time as well. When is a bid a bid? Is it the one that is written down officially on a piece of paper, or a sporting director phoning up another sporting director?
Supposing we were to do...
we did this. Yeah. No, we're not going to accept that. Suddenly, Manchester United have had a bid rejected. I don't think it's going to work like that. Another player that United are after is a goalkeeper. And Eddie Howe, the Newcastle United manager, has confirmed the story that we brought you a couple of days ago. And he's confirmed that there has been contact between Manchester United and Newcastle over Martin Dubravka, who's now the #2 goalkeeper at Newcastle United following Nick Pope's arrival. I think what is under discussion is a loan. Potentially Newcastle might want to make that into an option or an obligation. I think United would just be happy just at the moment with a loan, but are happy to discuss further if there's going to be an option or an obligation attached to that. United want a pool of 3 goalkeepers who can go into the first team reckoning. David De Gea, Tom Heaton, +1 following Dean Henderson's loan move to Nottingham Forest. And that +1 could be Martin Dubravka. We think he wants to move.
OK, let's talk Manchester City. Pep Guardiola today asked again about Bernardo Silva this afternoon, and the manager gave his most defiant answer yet, that the midfielder will be staying.
Transfer window still open, and still lots of speculation around Bernardo Silva and his future. He's staying. You're
Absolutely.
We understand there's been a bid from PSG. Can you confirm or deny that?
We don't have any phone call from any club regarding Bernardo Silva, so that's why he'll stay.
Now, this has potential knock-ons all over the place, because if Barcelona aren't going to get Bernardo Silva, it changes whether they need to sell players, including Frankie de Jong, doesn't it?
The Barcelona saga is so intriguing about how they're doing their business, and Carve's spoken at length on this very show about what they're trying to do to try and register players, to try and raise money. The one player, one of their big signings of the summer, is still not registered, Jules Koundé. Now, we think what might be able to happen is if they can sort out the Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang deal to Chelsea, then it would allow Jules Koundé to be registered. There are reports in Spain, Carve was telling me earlier off air, that they're trying to find another way, and they might have found another way without having to do a deal for Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang to get Jules Koundé registered. But say that was the case, the reason they didn't want to involve Marcos Alonso in that deal from Chelsea is that it wouldn't have given them enough money to be able to register Jules Koundé, and then they bring in another player in Marcos Alonso who they couldn't register as well. So then they'll have 2 players, so double the problems. Now, if they did want to go in for Bernardo Silva, again, that presents another problem, because it's going to be a hefty transfer fee for a player of Bernardo Silva's ability, but also the registration problem as well. Now, if they were somehow to be able to do a deal for Bernardo Silva, it would probably require them to sell one of their most prized and saleable assets, with the man we've been talking about throughout this transfer window, the man you mentioned at the top of the question, in Frankie de Jong. But if Pep Guardiola is now saying, no, 6 days to go, no sale, Bernardo Silva stays, then does that eventually and finally mean that Frankie de Jong ends up staying at Barcelona?
OK, we'll see, as I keep saying. 6 days to go. Memphis Depay is back in the transfer headlines again.
Yeah, I mean, he's at Barcelona at the moment, played and scored in their friendly against Man City on Wednesday night. The situation with him is he's been told he can leave Barcelona. They're willing to terminate his contract. He had something set up with Juventus, but that was dependent on Juventus selling Adrien Rabiot to Manchester United. That fell through, so his move to Juventus has fallen through. Now, he has been offered to a lot of clubs in the Premier League by various agents. If he moves to the Premier League, he wants to go to a big club in London or a Champions League club. And I was told today that there still is a chance that he could end up at a Premier League club before the window closes. And bear in mind, he's somebody who's available on a free transfer. He's a starter for the Netherlands and has a very, very good scoring record. He's been successful wherever he's been, really, throughout his career, apart from at Manchester United. OK, and a word on Arsenal before we end this edition of the Transfer Show. We're back again at 7. Pepe's loan deal from Arsenal to Nice went through last night. What does that mean? What's the implications?
There's an interview that you're able to see on Sky Sports News tomorrow with Mikel Arteta, and he actually admits that Arsenal are now short, given the loan move of Nicolas Pepe. So I think Arsenal fans' ears will have pricked up and thought, well, we're still in the market to bring in a player. We do know that they are in the market to bring in a forward player. They tried to buy Rafinha, remember, earlier on in this transfer window, prepared to pay in excess of £50 million. So maybe have they got that money set aside to be able to bring in a player like Rafinha? We do know there's an interest in Pedro Neto. Wolves do not want to sell in this transfer window. But money talks. Now, if a long-term target became available in this transfer window, I'm sure Arsenal would want to do business.
It's all wheels within wheels, isn't it? Dharmesh, Cardiff, thanks very much indeed. We're all back for a full hour of the Transfer Show at 7. And next, how are England doing in the Test match?